Let's say I knew something was coming. Let's say I needed to prepare for an emergency, but I only had $1,000. I only had access to $1,000 to prepare for this emergency. And depending on the type of emergency, I would prioritize certain items over others. But in general, I would focus on, as a new prepper, on a scenario where I had to bug in, where I had to stay in my home for an extended period of time, for weeks, a month, or maybe two. I would make sure I had enough water and a plan to deal with my human waste in that period of time. Water, food would be the top priority. So I want to talk about what I would do if I only had $1,000 to really start prepping. My top priority as far as those items would be food and water. I would get cases of water. I would get food. I wouldn't focus on freeze-dried food because it's just too expensive. MREs, again, especially the full MRE packs, too expensive. Dehydrated food, too expensive. I would focus on canned goods in that scenario. I would get drinking water, make sure I have plenty of bottled water. That would be my priority. I wouldn't bother with the canisters yet because that wouldn't be in the budget. I would focus on, I would probably go to Walmart and get some cases of water, enough so that I would have at least 4 bottles of water per day. So however amount of people in a family, you gotta make sure you have 4 bottles of water at least for each person each day. So I would be prepared for ideally at least 1 month, but probably 2 months, because it would probably take weeks for the authorities to really respond to something really, really bad anyway. When you look at hurricanes sometimes, when you look at North Carolina and some other places, you may even lose your home, but you want to at least have some basic resources in your home so that you're prepared in that type of an event, that type of emergency. So I would focus on that first and foremost. Now, as far as the other aspects of prepping, I'm going to talk about what I would do if I wanted to make sure I had a firearm and all this other stuff. For the medical stuff, you can get a tourniquet, but you can also replace a tourniquet with a belt. A lot of other things you use, it's just something you use to stop the bleeding. You put that above the wound. So there's a hole right here, tourniquet, put the belt up here, you know. So, I mean, there's some substitutes you can find. Most people already have knives of some type. But if you don't, I'll talk about what I would do. I'll probably get a folding knife, something pretty reliable, something pretty durable. I wouldn't waste my time with automatic stuff, because if you buy the cheaper automatic knives, they might not be as reliable. So you're better off just getting a basic folding knife. So that's something that I would definitely consider. I'm assuming you already have basic cleaning items and hygiene items and things like that. But yeah, food and water, that's what I would be focused on the most. Maybe even find a way of fortifying the home if that's a possibility. But that's as expensive as wood is, you know, that can get really expensive. So that might be out of the budget. But so these are some basic things I would do if I only had $1,000 to prepare for an emergency. So if I was starting off from scratch and I only had $1,000 to really prepare for an emergency, what exactly would I would do? Well, I would focus on food and water. That's what I would mostly focus on. But if I didn't have a self-defense tool with a $1,000 budget, saying I had to buy everything within $1,000, then I would probably get a used 9mm, a Glock 17, or right here's a Walther PPQ. Something with a great reputation. A few boxes of ammunition. They're very cost effective. They're 9mm. Probably would focus on full metal jacket. Wouldn't try to get the fancy stuff because it wouldn't be within the budget. Definitely make sure I have a couple flashlights if I didn't have any flashlights. Really important. If I didn't have some type of knife, I would have that. I'm going to grab a knife, make sure I have plenty of batteries, get some type of portable water filter, make sure at least I have some rubbing alcohol and hydrogen peroxide, focus on beans and rice, and also canned goods. But I'll also go to a military surplus store or some store and actually get some MRE components, pieces of MREs. Not the full thing. Next, I also like oatmeal, so that would be on my list. One thing I would definitely grab, probably one of the more expensive items, would be a quick clot combat gauze. Really effective if you get to a situation where somebody is bleeding badly. It'll at least give them a chance to get to the hospital. But when it comes to SHTF, just the smallest things you do can have a big impact. Simply storing water, just having cases of water in your home can make a big deal. Even if you can't get around to getting a filter, although you can get them pretty cheaply. But if you can't get one, you want to do both. You want to have some filters in your house, but you also want to have plenty of drinking water. So if something goes down, you don't have to leave the house, and you can just drink the water that's available in your house. You want to have some way of seeing in the dark. Really important. And some means of defending yourself. Obviously, you can use a light as part of your self-defense. But yeah, if I only had $1,000, this is probably what it will look like. Of course, I'm already assuming that you have a first aid kit in your home and you already have a fire extinguisher. If you don't, you definitely need to get one. The only thing really missing would be some type of radio. I would get an AM/FM radio. You wouldn't have to go with anything super fancy. You can listen to the weather station and other stuff with this one, but at least get some type of radio. And if I was able to do that, I would be in a much better position than somebody who didn't do anything. Walther PPQ would be a really good option. The trigger is actually better than the Glock. 15 round capacity, decent sights. All right, so these are some of the things that I would do if I only had $1,000 to prepare for an emergency. Share your thoughts. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to comment on my videos. I'm sure some of you guys are gonna wonder, why don't you get some type of rifle or shotgun? I mean, because realistically, your pistol is gonna be your primary, even in a home defense situation, because unless you have a rifle in every room or you're willing to carry the rifle to different rooms, it's not realistic to assume that, it's great to have a rifle, you can get to it, but when I walk around my home, I'm walking around with a pistol on my hip. Okay, so that's why I consider the pistol to be the primary. When I go outside, I have a pistol on my hip. That's why the pistol is just I view that as being the most important. That's a gun you're gonna be able to grab first. But anyway, share your thoughts. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Don't forget the future belongs to those who prepare for it today.